You're watching a video about Rust Legacy, a video game that was available from 2013 December to 2016 December. We're in a part of the game's play environment that has a peculiarity. I saw a video about this long ago, couldn't figure out the exact location. This time I was able to figure out the exact location. I'll be offering it to you. First things first, we're going to turn on part of the user interface I've turned off to get this nice picture. We're going to turn on the chat function. We're going to go POS, position, and we're going to see that our position is almost exactly X 5000 by Y almost 400 by Z negative 1625 approximately. These numbers will bring you to the location we're talking about. Next, I'm going to turn that back off to get it off the screen as much as possible so we have a clean interface. What you'll observe directly in the middle here is Mount Everest in the game. Next is an intervening little mountain or mound to its left that we can see visually that has two, people tend to call them anvil rocks, but they're not really anvil shaped, directly in front of it, over to just to the left of that big tree directly in front. To the right we see some other rocks that are stratified. I'm going to turn to the left and look at the next set of anvil rocks. A small one, or seemingly small, it's actually just far away, on the right 75% of the screen. Then we see two anvil rocks paired up like a stereo speaker set with two trees on each side. And as you can see from the position of the sun in the game Rust, we're looking south because in the video game, at one point or another, because of the right-hand versus left-hand coordinates rule, they decided to make the sun rise in the south. Let's not talk about that. Next, we go over to our left a little further so that we can still see the anvil rocks. And we see generally just rocks and stuff in the background, your basic environment. When we turn a little bit more, we see, if we position just right in the far left, you'll see a very pointy mountain, which will disappear as I rotate, because then it will actually obey the render distance rule and fog it out. Distance fog or mist. And you'll notice there's trees out there, but there's no more large rocks or mountains, even though there obviously are. And as we turn, you can see a slight light blue curvature. That's another one. We just can't see it. That's the blacking out of the background for it to put up a big mound of rock back there. It looks almost like a big moonrise. And then over here we see that pile of rocks, the stratified area I referred to, on the right. And then we're back to looking at Mount Everest. And when you look at the shadows, you can see, if I pop up in the air really quickly, that we're seeing shadows that roughly accommodate for us looking this way north. Now I'm going to look down and show you what we have. We have, oh, it's a building foundation. Well, some of you already recognize that's not really a foundation, that's a ceiling. This, I'm going to call it the antlion pit, or the sand pit, or the snark pit. This is a defect in the map that was left in, and it's been found occasionally. There's only one other video I could find, and I was trying to figure out where it was. I found it once by accident, and then found the video afterwards, but didn't have the ability to get the position. And again, we go into chat, and we find out it's 5,000 by whatever by whatever. So that's all the information you need. Let's use the in-game map that I'm using. I am not using the default one for any of the versions of the clients you get. This one is one that I kind of remastered or re-ripped from Rust Rome, which currently won't let me load it for some reason. I wonder why. So I'm going to hit the letter M and get the map up. Now I'm also going to hit the F1 key so that I can move my mouse on screen. And we're going to take a look at this. The location we're at, if you can see the mouse, I'm pretty sure you can. It'll show up as a dot or whatever. Look in the upper right-hand side of your screen. In the blue, there should be some indication of it. Now I'm going to move it down until we're right next to the stratified rocks area. And I'm going to move the mouse over until we get to the dot right here. It should be in the map area, almost exactly 50% from the top and bottom edge on that right side. And it should be to the left of the 1, 2, 3 big masses of rock collections here. The border of the rock update is visible if you look at it as a really big square that covers the island and then goes off into the ocean and has a very definitive cutoff point. This is a green dot you should be able to see, and I'm sorry if it's too small. I need it small to be able to tell whether or not I've got my map properly scaled. This is the starting point of making a very good map. It is obviously not very good right now. Now I'll just turn off that background F1 menu, and that should give you an idea of where it is in general. And let's observe what the pit looks like. First of all, it's 2 floors deep. Looks like something you can't get out of, and it looks like a trap. And it's made in, I'm going to call it a boat shape. When video game items, even terrain, are created, they usually are based on triangles, or in some cases a square split in diagonally, so it makes 2 not quite triangular triangles. Now if we go over here to the right, you can see that it almost makes like a boat shape. Now I'm going to turn off the grass and all the high-end graphics here really quickly, hopefully, and we'll just get ourselves a little bit less detail to work with here and make it actually clearer by accident. Okay, let me get out of that. And I'm going to go in here and type in grass on false. Really have a temptation to put an equal sign in there. Let me get out of that. And now you can see what it looks like in all its horrifying glory. Primarily, these type of defects in a map are caused by somebody editing them, or a defect like a literal dot on a graphics engine. Let me explain. Most of the time these are done using a texture, and a single black dot will look like this. Yeah, because it shows that it's 1 notch below whatever the level is in the area. Those are differential maps. Anyway, the point is, whoop, excuse me, I fell in my pit trap. Anyway, this looks like a trap somebody was setting. Anyway, looking at the edge, now that we can see it, although I wish I could shut off the grass, we have an almost triangle end on each end in a box shape, kinda. I put this in incorrectly. Now ideally you would build it with the 2 foundations it requires, because it requires you put 2 foundations to get even 1 in here. I got lucky, unfortunately, and that 1 foundation at this end on our left let me build the whole thing. What you want to do is put down 2 foundations almost perfectly even, as low as possible, and then use both foundations to act as the center of one of these box buildings, if that's possible. Therefore, we would have a very tiny kind of porch point on one end, and same thing over here, and it would be ideally dead center in this hole. That's not what I did. Now, obviously, in another version of Rust, the modern version, we would be able to build out from the sides and make this a completely flat surface, and the building would be totally underground. We could even expand it if we had triangles, but we don't. As you can see, its ceiling, the maximum height, comes leveled just below it. Now let's look at it with, again, we have all the graphic stuff turned off, and I've turned off the grass. Haven't turned off the short grass, haven't turned off the bushes. But when we look at it, except for that box sitting there, we don't see anything. It's really hard to see, and I'm at the point, go over this way, this is the angle people would come in from to see your base. So they would have to know to look for a tree, and also one other peculiarity. These defects in the ground very often cause a permanent burned in or baked shadow on the left side there. I'm trying to demonstrate it by cramming the graphics quality up but turning off the grass. Let's see if I can get that done. It almost shows it. It shows it better depending on which version of the Rust Legacy game or client you're using. But yeah, there you are. It's shaped like that. I just thought it was interesting, and these sort of defects happen almost every time you import, usually, not always, but usually, a 2-dimensional image to act as a height map to do this. That isn't necessarily what caused this, but parts of the map were created that way and then exported as physical structures, a mesh. That's why the game is more optimized than you might think it could be for an island that's many, many kilometers across, or many, many miles across. It really is huge and underexploited. The area on the map we see is approximately 1/16 of it, because it's 4 times wider than that and 4 times taller, approximately. I'm actually going to do a measurement map later. Now, I would at this point pause and take it apart, take this whole thing apart and destroy it, and show you what the thing looks like without that in there. But I think I'm just going to leave it like this anyway. Mostly because I don't want to destroy it. I want to build it again on another server. This is apparently visible on every server unless they exclude you from going out into any of these weird areas. And again, the location will be below in the description for you to use. And many servers offer the POS, or GPS as I like to call it, or location function. Either one, you go into the chat, you do a slash, and you type POS and or LOCATION, and it will put it up. Obviously, I've turned off the chat function, so let me turn that back on and demonstrate it properly. We'll do location, which may or may not be there. You're in world zone. That means it doesn't know where you are. It should just say, I don't know. And then, of course, POS. On the one I'm running, I've altered the normal Fogarite ones to say GPS for the data, and location actually includes the location approximately, much more rounded off numbers, or uses a grid system that's based on A through Z and 0 through 9. So for the thumbnail only, we're going to go ahead grass on true, and then we get out of that, and we're going to turn on the high resolution stuff. It's already on. So where's the grass? Oh, I must have typed it wrong. Grass on TRUE. There we go. And that'll make it all pretty looking. And I'll go over here, and that'll be our thumbnail for the video, right? Like that. That plant's getting in my way. There, duck down. There we go. And that's the pit. I'm going to call it the snark pit, or the antlion pit, or just the pit. Anyway, there are many of these on the island. I've only been able to really properly figure out a few of them. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.